So now we're ready to build the profile of this link. So let's go up here and grab a circle spline. I'm going to hold down T and reduce this, get it close, and then pull this over here and maybe reduce that just a little more. Hold down T. Now I'm going to take that circle and place it under the narrow roller. Go under here, and if I right click on these arrows, that will zero out these and center that exactly over that, and that looks pretty good. So we're going to make a copy by holding down Control and putting that over here. We're going to take that one out and put it under the wide roller and come back and zero that out. So now we have two circles that are perfectly lined up over our rollers. So I'm not going to pull them out. I'm going to hold down Control and copy those and make an extra copy that we're going to use right now. And we're going to use these later. We're just going to turn those off. So let's take this one, hit C to make it editable, hit this one, and hit C to make it editable. Now we have two editable splines. Go to the points mode, and let's take both of these, turn this on, and make these green, just so we can see them a little better. Okay. So if we go out of here, you see they're both green. Let's go back in points mode. And what we want to do, let's go back into our back, and I'm going to make this just a little darker so we can see it better. Okay, so with the knife tool, K, let's go in, and right where that intersects, I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain this so I draw a straight line, and that puts a point there and a point there. We're going to do the same thing right here. I've got both of these selected at once. Okay, so now we've got points there. So let's go over and get our select tool, and let's draw this. Oops, wrong one. Select that point and that point, and just hit delete. Now we'll go back into both of those in the object and deselect close spline. Okay, so we have a little bit of an issue here with this one. That one's perfect. This one, on the other hand, we're missing the wrong section. So what we have to do, and we want to go back to Mesh, Spline, move down the sequence, and one more should do it. Mesh, Spline, move down the sequence. Now we've got it open. And we go back here, and now because we messed that up, gonna go to Mesh, and we should move up the sequence. Okay, so now we have two splines that are ready to be connected. So let's do that first. Let's take both splines, right click, come down, connect objects, and delete. So now we've got those. Let's take this and this, and we're going to right click, and we're going to say join segments. Now those two are joined. We'll come back up here, close the spline, and that connects those two. So now let's go back to our knife tool with the K and try to get that as centered as possible. Make another cut down through these. We're going to select those 2 points. Hold down the T key and bring this in, and I think we're just about there. Let's take a look at this, and we have a pretty perfect profile of the side of the link. Okay, so this is where we are. Let's go back to hit the F1 key, go back to the main port, and there's all our splines lined up. So let's look at what we want to do next here. So let's go back to the chain drive, and this is just the link. So we can see better what we have, I want to create two new materials. Make one of them, let's just make it a greenish color, and the other one can be, so we don't want to confuse with the other. I'll make it a pink. Okay, so there's plenty of contrast between them. So I'm going to apply the green to the narrow roller assembly and the pink to the wide. So now we can clearly see each link, what we have to have. So we need, let's turn off the pink, and so this is our first link that we need, the first part of the link. So we basically have this this sidebar that we just made, but it spans these two links. Okay, so we need an additional sidebar that goes this way. All right, so let's turn this off. So we have our hub, our main roller, and our two sidebars. So let's go back. Okay, so before I said, so these are our two main rollers, and this is our sidebar, but we need an additional sidebar to go to the right here for our narrow link. So let's make a copy of that, and we're going to hit R, and I'm gonna start rolling this and hold down shift to quantize this so we have it exactly 180 degrees. Okay, so we ended up not needing the extra circle splines, but we'll just leave them there for now. So now we have the extra sidebar that we need, and let's name that, turn that off. This is going to be narrow sidebar, and this will be wide sidebar. Okay, so there's something we want to do right now, and it has to do with the axis for the sidebar splines. So I'll go in here, and if I select my narrow sidebar, you notice the axis is in this area, and we really want it here, and the same for the wide sidebar. That axis needs to be there. So let's take our wide sidebar first, since we've got it selected. Go up under Mesh, down to Axis Center, and Center Axis 2. So now we're in there. We're going to do the same with the narrow sidebar. Select it, go into Mesh, Axis Center, and Center Axis 2. Now if you notice, this axis came in different. Notice the wide sidebar, the axis is correct, Y is up, X is to the right. But with the narrow sidebar it isn't. And the reason is because if you remember, I rotated that spline 180 degrees so we'd get our narrow spline sidebar out to the right. So it's an easy fix. We'll go over here, select the rotation tool, and as soon as I start turning, I'll hold the shift key to quantize, and we're going to turn that to it's 180. Deselect that so we don't mess up, and now we have both axes perfect. So one more thing before we get out of here. With the narrow sidebar selected, I'm going to hold down the Option key and go up here and get a null. Now that null is exactly centered with that, and this null is going to be our narrow link, and everything for the narrow link will go in there. So let's do the same for the wide sidebar. Hold down Option, and we're going to get that null, and now that is exactly in the same place as that. So we're going to call this wide link. Well, let's start cleaning some of this up and get these splines in the right folders. Narrow roller narrow hub, wide roller, wide hub. Oops, didn't want that there. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and start giving these some extrude NURBS. Now I'm going to hold down the option key on the Mac when I put that extrude, and that way it is centered also with that spline. I'm going to do the same for this, and we're just still going to leave this extra spline here for right now. So hold down Option, Extrude, hold down Option and Extrude. Okay, and then we might as well just do these two. Let's see, where were we? Option, Extrude, Option, Extrude, and turn that on. Option, Extrude. Okay. So for now, let's just turn the wide link off completely. All right, we've got everything is defaulting to one size. So for the sidebar, now we do want to name these. It'll be important when we start working on Xpresso. And I am leaving the extrude in there, the word extrude, because I want to be able to, if need be, pull those up by using the search. So in other words, if we wanted to pull up all of our extrudes, we can do it that way and everything is right there. So, narrow hub. Okay, so, and then we'll do the other ones in a second. So let's take this down to, that's, what is that, 5, it looks real good. And then the narrow roller, let's go ahead and make that 50. And all of this is going to be adjusted eventually. I'm going to be able to adjust all these things. Now I do want to see something here. Okay, so right now we're extruding in. I think on this outside one, we're going to extrude that out. So -5 on that. And the reason is because I want that spline on this side, and that's going to line up with our cogwheel, and you'll see how this all is going to work. So we're going to do -5 on the narrow sidebar, and then +50 on the roller. And then on this, we're going to do, I'm going to turn this off a second. Yeah, we're going to do, let's try 60. And this is going to have to move in Z, because we need this. Okay, where are you? Oh, wow, okay. We need this to extend beyond, so we have a nice little hub there. And yeah, I can see 60 is not going to be enough. Let's go back here. Let's make it for right now. We'll try 70. And that may do it. We'll see. Okay, so let's go back here and look at this again. This is our narrow hub. So this, our narrow link rather, this has to stick out farther because we need that other sidebar has to fit over this too. So let's go back, and we may have to pull that out even more. And we'll end up adjusting this as we go. So let's do that, and let's make it 90, and we know we're covered. And then we'll reduce it back. Okay, so that's the beginning of it. And so we still need one other side to this. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to select this narrow sidebar, and we're going to go up here, and we're going to create an instance of that. Okay, and let's pull that into the narrow link. Let's get rid of this. Into the narrow link null. So let's go here and okay. So what we got to do is that is the other side of this, and I just want to see again. Okay, let's move that over. So now we got that over here. I just want to see where that's hitting. Yeah, okay. So that's good. Now this one is over 54. I'm going to go into F2 into the top view because I want to be able to see this a little better. All right, so that is okay. So that's right at 50. All right, so that probably should be 55. Would make that right. Okay, back to the F1 for the port. So that's the beginning of our narrow link. So let's go back into F2 into that top view, and let's take this hub and push it. Oh, no. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. We got to make our other link first. All right, back into this. All right. So now let's go in here. We're going to rename these. Copy. Just copying and pasting. And you can name these however you want. Whatever naming convention you want to use. Okay, just so that they are named though, because once we get into the, like I said, the Xpresso, it's going to get tricky knowing what everything is if they're not named properly. So let's turn that link on, and I believe our sidebar is 5. Extrude of 5, but we think we used a -5, so let's go -5. All right, and let's go ahead and move that out here. Now these that we're placing right here, this end, these are not going to move anymore. Everything's going to be sized from this over in Z space. Okay, so now our roller, our wide roller hub, or wide roller rather, I'm going to go back in the top so I can see that. That's probably going to, I would say, oh, we got stuff there. So let's just move that over to here. That looks like it touches. That's all we need. I'm going to go back in there, and for right now, we're going to take that out to about there. And this one, we might as well go ahead and make it 90 and pull that back through. Okay. All right. And the same thing we did before. We're going to grab our sidebar, go up here and create an instance, and then move that instance over to there. Let's look at that top view. And get that pretty close. We can leave a space in there, small space, maybe a little more, just so there's a nice, like if you're using ambient occlusion or something, you get a nice little darkness in there. All right, and this roller's fine the way it is here. Let's see what we have that set for. 61. Let's don't do that. Let's do 60. Actually, let's do 62. Or I guess we'll go back to 61. I'm trying to keep things even, so when we get into the Xpresso, it's not such a big deal. But this will be fine. Okay, so now the only thing we have to do is get our hubs so that they're about the same sticking out, and we don't want a lot. So I'm going to put it about there, and if I move, let's see, we're going to freeze that for a second. Freeze this, so that way I can move this over and bring it up. Okay, and then I can Where it was, okay, could bring this down to, whoops. We're going to eyeball that. Looks like I'll make it 77, I think will be good. And then we'll make this one 77. And then if I go back here, and because we zeroed this, I don't want to change my Z, but all I have to do is double or right click on these little arrows to zero it, and it puts it right back where it was. I'm going to hit F1 to go back to the perspective view, and that is the beginning of our link. Now I haven't gone in and done any of the rounding yet or anything else, and we'll do that, but let's wait until we get our chains set up.